Hello, and welcome to Book of the Mouse Club, episode 120, Friday, November 7th, 2025.
Morning, monsieur.
Where are you off to?
The bookshop. I just finished the most wonderful story about a beanstalk and an ogre and
That's nice. Marie! The baguettes! Hurry up!
I'm sorry, but how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
My dear child, there are a great many good books in this world without pictures.
I almost bounced clear out of the book. Some bouncing, huh?
Come home or make thyself known.
J. Thaddeus Turtle, Esquire. Have you never met him? You will find his story in this delightful little book, The Wind and the Willows.
I've come to return the book I borrowed.
Finished already?
Oh, I couldn't put it down. Have you got anything new?
Welcome back. I'm your host, Courtney, and I am joined, as always, simply by my lovely co-host, Emily.
Hi, Courtney, and hello, listeners. We made a big announcement in our last episode, and for once, we didn't read a book for today. This episode is going to be a little bittersweet.
Yeah, as we announced during our interview with Ridley Pearson last month, that was our final discussion and author interview, but we wanted to officially wrap things up here to provide you with some closure. We started this podcast all the way back in May of 2018 with an episode titled Who's the Leader of the Club? So it is fitting for us to close this chapter today with an episode titled Now It's Time to Say Goodbye.
You know, when I was in my car today, I had my Disney playlist on shuffle, and the Now It's Time to Say Goodbye ending song came on. I was like, oh, that's our theme for today. So let's just get the big question done and out of the way. Why are we choosing to end the show?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision, but I want to say when we started this back in 2018, we made a promise to you listeners that we would do a book/episode every month, sometimes more as our schedules allowed. And I am proud to say that we met that. We exceeded that for sure in 2020 as we were home along with everybody else. And I'm really proud of that. It takes a lot of work. We read everything that we discuss. We take time to research, and we post together these wonderful questions. And so while that has been a labor of love, I do feel like it was just kind of reaching a point where didn't quite feel as sustainable to do it every month. And it was important to me personally to kind of end this on our terms and on a high note. I love podcasts, and I get kind of sad. Like, I feel like when you follow a podcast and they just stop posting and you're like, are they alive? Are they okay? I think it's important to have some regularity in your feed. So shout out to the people out there who keep on keeping on. But I felt like as this was starting to catch up to us, that I wanted to end it on our terms. Came to you and said like, hey, this is where I am with things. And I was like, let's make a plan. So while we've known about this for a while, it gave us time to do things that we really wanted to do. I know the fairy tale favorites, Into the Woods, was something that had been on your wish list. We felt like Ridley Pearson would be great if we could get him back, which we did, to really talk about the Kingdom Keepers, because that's such a backbone of this show. So it's sad. This wasn't an easy decision to make, but I think just, we're getting busy in our lives. We love reading. This gives us time to read. Not that this wasn't fun. I don't want to say read for fun, but just read on our schedule and our terms. But we have been so grateful for this journey. Anything you care to add?
Yeah, I'm impressed we made it 8 years. I don't know if when we started this show, we would have been like, are we still going to be doing this 8 years from now? Like, you would hope so, but you never know. And I'm proud of us for reading over 100 books, for making the friends that we did. And we're going to reflect on some stuff. But yeah, I think the main thing was it's important for us to end, like you said, on our terms. Like, we didn't just end because we're like, crazy thing happened. We're just
Right.
kind of seeing the trajectory of new big things happening in both of our lives that we need to make some extra time for. That's not to say that we're still not in love with Disney and
Oh,
being
no,
part of
absolutely.
our friend podcast universe that we've made, or that,
We will happily go on somebody else's
yeah, if anyone
show
wants
and talk
us.
about things. Like, we still love to
Um,
discuss, but just
but
doing
yeah,
this
we're both
every month caught up.
yeah, taking on some new responsibilities at work, taking on some new family dynamics, which are great, all blessings, I can happily say. But they do take time and they do take um, effort that,
I feel
yeah.
like I should clarify that neither of us are having a baby because
Yeah,
it
oh my
kind
God,
of
you're right.
sounds like that
I'm
the way that
sorry.
you
I'm
shared
just trying not
that.
to like, should we cut that?
No, it's okay. I kind of think it's funny. Let's leave it
Yeah,
in.
no, like we're when we say we're ending this in our terms, it's just naturally because, you know, life is lifing.
In our mid 20s when we started this. We're in our mid
Now we're in our
30s
mid
now.
30s.
Like life catches up with you. No babies on the way. We are
No babies on the way.
the podcast has been our
Um,
baby and
but we've grown a lot in 8 years.
we
Like thinking
have.
about all the things that have happened since doing the show. I mean, COVID is one that we routinely return to and talk about as a pivotal moment in everyone's lives, but also as podcasters, just because we had the time and the resources to really dive into it, which was really cool.
Yeah, we did a lot of reflecting on the books we read and the interviews we conducted back on episode 100 with like a special analysis. We had people send in well wishes then. So we didn't want to repeat that here. We just kind of wanted our final reflection episode to be more of a reflection of our experiences as podcasters and friends working on this podcast. Just to, I don't know, give some closure, give you a peek behind the
Yeah.
curtain as listeners. It's our
Um,
keys to the kingdom.
Yes, while we didn't read a book for this episode, we both committed to going back and listening to episode one, which is always scary to do as a podcaster, or for anyone in any project, or in any, I don't know, any hobby. Like I hate going back and watching my dance videos from like high school, and I'm like, oh no, don't look at high school Emily. Um, but we went back to revisit this to kind of reflect more on our experience. So Courtney, what did you think re-listening to that episode?
Yeah, I had never gone back to re-listen to it since I put it out into the ether. I don't know, I kind of feel like we sound younger or something, greener.
We definitely had worse microphones back then.
I've been using the same microphone the whole time,
I'm
so
on like my third.
okay.
So, or the difference between switching from Skype to Zoom,
Yes,
the
different
quality's a little different.
technology.
Um,
Um,
Especially
I
because
don't
I'm
know.
always line two, that I always sound like the person on the phone. Or at least in that
Yes,
first episode,
in the
I sound like
early
the one on the
days.
phone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I'm
that was
proud
weird.
of us. I thought we were cute. We were just so excited.
We were. And it was interesting we brought up Ridley Pearson, Kingdom Keepers, like some of those books and pivotal moments we kind of said in episode one, like we want
Yeah.
to tackle Kingdom Keepers. We'd love to talk to authors. And then we did it, which is crazy.
Yeah, thinking back, did you think then that we would like read over 100 books and record 120 episodes?
I had no idea what I thought we were
No,
getting
I
into.
think we were just like, let's do this. It sounds fun. I had the idea in a shower and texted you.
I don't know if I could have seen back then that we would have gone over 100 episodes. I know so many people, we joked on the original episode that Let's Start a Podcast is the new version of, or is the millennial version of Let's Make a Band.
Yes, I
Or it's like
like
the
that
new
joke.
generation's like, let's start a band, let's make a podcast. And I know many podcasts, like you said, they start and then they're done. Not just like fizzled out and they have no closure, but like they end after 2 episodes, after 3 episodes. Um, so I'm really proud of us. And I don't know if I could have seen that we would have gotten to over 100 books and 120 episodes, but that's a solid, I think we did the podcast thing. We did it.
I guess we did over 120 books because there's some episodes
Yeah.
where we doubled up on things like the Kingdom Keepers, like we would do two per episode. But then of course we had episodes where we didn't do books. There was two little analyses, my Disney Plus literary companion and that
Yeah.
episode 100.
Um,
So fun
and
mix
then there were
there.
times where like I read more books, like for the Great Mouse Detective episode, I read the whole series of those young adult or those young children's books, chapter books, where
Yeah.
like you only read two. So we're still, I think, we're definitely over 100 books. We talked about that
Oh,
on the
easily.
100th episode.
Yeah.
We might be close to 120 for 120, we were
I
to
think
space
we're
it
over
out,
it.
possibly. So I'm really proud of us. I could go back. I have been logging them in my Goodreads. I have a separate shelf of just Book of the Mouse Club ones. So maybe we should go back and we can confirm with each other how many we read.
Yeah. It's a nice little way to audit against each other's lists.
So what did you get out of this project that we started in 2018, 8 years later? What are you walking away from this experience?
I don't really know what I wanted to get out of it initially, other than just it seemed like a fun idea, but I do feel it made me more of an avid reader, not just of these Disney books, but
Mhm.
also books in my personal life. I think in 2017, the year before we started this, I had set out to be like, I'm gonna read 52 books that year because that's, an average of one book per week. And I have pretty regularly exceeded that since we've done the podcast. My record is still, of course, 2020, in which I think I read 102 books that year, but
Nice.
I didn't have to commute. So I would wake up, read, do my work from home, read at lunchtime, do more work from home. Sometimes tell Doug, I'm finishing this book tonight. Have fun watching a movie. So yeah, I think, I've always been a reader. It's always been part of my identity, but I think it really pushed me to be like disciplined in my reading, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar. Discipline, I think, in general for a hobby. Like we said, we both started this when we were like in our mid 20s, and so you're new in your career. It's very easy to give your life over to work. In some ways, I still feel like I give my life over to work. But learning that discipline, or like, hey, I have a podcast, I need to read this book by this time, it forced me to carve out time for myself to do things I enjoy, which is reading, Disney, talking to you. It gave us something creative outside of our normal day-to-day routines. And I think this helped me learn to make time for myself, and to be that I can manage my time and get stuff done for work and still enjoy hobbies and not feel like I have to sacrifice one for the other. So I think that's something I'm walking away with, is that I'm much better at giving myself time to do things that I love.
And it's not just about us, you listeners, you are just as much a part of a journey as it is between the two of us. Is there anything in particular that you hope our listeners and our reading pals got out of the show too?
I hope people picked up a book that maybe they hadn't read it in a while. Either they picked up a book because they haven't been reading and now they were inspired to. We found some independent authors to support, or smaller publishers like Theme Park Press to lend our Disney support to. I also hope people found a community of some other Disney adults. I think that's something else I took from this is, not that I've ever been ashamed of loving Disney, but I think I found a community and a confidence to speak about that. I like Disney and I'm 30, in my 30s. Like, that's okay. And I found other people that do too. And I hope readers got a community out of that as well.
Yeah, I hope they also got a glimpse into the writing and publishing process. That was always something that I felt important to ask our authors about that maybe other shows didn't go into as much, or at least that's the vibe that I got when authors would be like, oh, yeah, like nobody's ever really asked me about that. As you said, we've had a wide range of authors, people who self-published, people who worked with niche presses, many authors who have written for Disney officially in a capacity. So to get a glimpse behind their research process, their writing process, I hope that the advice that we always asked authors at the end was helpful to someone out there and maybe inspired them.
How have you noticed our podcast change over time from episode one till now?
Hmm. There was something interesting just because I do a bit of the editing. I forgot that when I made the little clip of all the book quips and quotes at the beginning, that I had the hello, I want my book. Bonjour, je
Je
veux
veux mon
mon
livre.
livre. But the audio quality was really bad on that. And I remember when I put it in there, Doug was like, yeah, that doesn't sound very good. So then I like replaced it with the book piece, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that. So I hope that it's been both consistent in our quality of like questions and
Mhm.
research, but that people have like grown along with us as we've taken on bigger names, bigger books.
I think we got better at scripting as we went. And when I say scripting, not like scripting our conversations, but how we wanted the episodes to flow, like how we got from one question to another. I just remember that when we used to do like our background, I used to have notes on background and talk through it. And I never did well just talking through it. And I could tell in those first couple episodes where I just had notes to give background knowledge, versus when I started, let me take time to write out what I want to say for those moments. We got a lot better.
We got a nasty gram about pronunciations once. I don't know if you
Oh no,
remember that. Like somebody sent us an email and was like, "You mispronounced this word." And we're like, "We're sorry. We're trying." So I feel like since then I've been more cognizant of, I don't know. I feel like I take the Disney history and you always get thrown with like the French words and
yeah,
things.
here's the
But
French and
you took French, so
I
it's
did.
fine.
Doesn't mean my pronunciation's still great. I got that mid-Atlantic South Jersey accent to fight through. Um, but I think overall we got better like anticipating those things,
Yeah.
especially with planning like background into discussions into which book we wanted to go into next. I think we got a lot stronger with that over time.
Especially when we've done adaptations. At first, it was like, here's everything about the book. And then I'm like, here's everything about the movie. Okay, let's discuss. And we got a better sense of, here, let's talk a little about the book, talk about these questions. Okay, talk about the movie, integrating
Mm-hmm.
it and getting that flow. And yeah, that's something that I think you would learn naturally. And speaking of those histories, we have certainly read a lot of Disney history on this show. What is something that you will take away from this almost 8 year independent study of Disney
Right. Can we
history?
get like an associate's degree or something in Disney?
It's like a PhD at
Like
that point. It's
how can
seven and a
we
half
can
years
we just
this
submit
month.
all of these episodes to
This is
um
my thesis.
and just be like, this was my 8 year project, and now give me a degree in Disney analysis. I
A
don't know.
certificate, at
Certificate.
least.
I'll take a I'll take a certificate. Um, Disney University. Give me a Disney U certificate.
Your master's degree,
Yeah, our master's degree.
doctorate.
Um, from the history especially, I think I want to take away that Disney history expands a lot beyond theme parks and movies, which I know is what like we tend to focus on a lot, and that's what like the Imagineering story and many of our books are from people from the parks and from the films, but who they were behind those things, like the people behind the parks, the people behind the films are so much more important than, or their stories are just as important than the films and the park themselves. So I think the role of cast members is something that sticks out to me a lot, as well as just like putting Disney history in context of other things. We've gotten some cool opportunities to look at different parts of Disney history, but then how they relate to the rest of the world that was happening at the same time. I think it gave us a bigger appreciation for Disney history other than like Disney World opened on October 1st, 1971, and these attractions were here and now this one's gone. And now these attractions are here and now this one's gone. I think we have a bigger context of what Disney has done in 100 years.
Yeah, I particularly have enjoyed the glimpses into Walt Disney, the man,
Mm-hmm.
that I've gained over reading these books. You and I both, even prior to the podcast, loved Bob Thomas's Walt Disney, an American Original. It's one of our early episodes, but then getting to hear from memoirs or even just, officially published works regarding Disney, like Rolly Crump's It's Kind of a Cute Story, just these more glimpses into Walt and who he was besides being the boss or the
Yeah,
leader of everything, and how his passing profoundly affected people. Like that was definitely a common thread that I saw throughout those types of books.
that eventually became like one of our standard questions. What did you learn about Walt that we hadn't learned before?
No, that's very true. So lots over the years.
So, other than Disney history, what have we learned from podcasting?
Yeah. I feel like I learned some technical things. We're
Yeah,
gonna
thank
get,
you
I
for
guess,
doing that for 8 years.
the behind the scenes. I edit the episodes, and I apologize if you think my editing is bad, but I'm not one to edit out every single or pause. I tried to streamline where I could. If we got off topic, somebody flubbed. But for those of you who don't know, each time we would record, I would then edit it that night which I just
Yeah.
thought made sense, but in talking to other podcasters is apparently insane. But I had a little system where I have a stopwatch going as we record, and I put little timestamps of where I'm like, oop, bub, but we are actively talking as I'm doing that. So in order for the 2 or 3 words that I write down to make sense to me, I have to do it that night. So I think it also just worked for me for, being at home, being like, hey, babe, it's podcast night. Like, you're not going to see me for a few hours, rather than missing out on time separately, like, oh, I'm going to record tonight, and oh, sorry, we can't do that tomorrow night. I have to edit. I would do it all in one go. And sometimes those were rather late nights. But I feel like I gained insight into software. I had started in something like that was free called Audacity, and I moved into GarageBand when Audacity stopped working with my computer. I've gone through two computers at least in the time frame
Wow.
of us
I've been on the same
doing
computer the
this.
whole time.
Oh my gosh, good for you.
Shout out to Apple. My
Mine's Apple
MacBook's
too.
Oh wow. Well, my
But
I don't know how.
I was on a MacBook Air, I think, when we started, and that was just like it was breathing heavy and getting
You were on
old.
a MacBook well before I was.
Yeah, I had one all through college. So that was like my college Air. And then in 2020, I was like, okay, time for a new computer. So this baby's lasted me 5 years. I feel like did most of the managing of our social
You
media
did. Thank
and
you.
owning correspondence. So I feel like that's been a good technical aptitude. Staging fun pictures
Yeah.
for the books. That was something I was already doing on my Instagram in 2017, but it was being in Orlando, of the two of us, I
Yeah.
had more access to photogenic spots, though I will say 2020 really challenged me
Yeah,
in
right.
being like, oh, I can't just go take this picture of all of the attractions Kevin Rafferty worked on. Let's see what things I have in my house that
Yeah,
align with his
for
skills.
sure.
So
And
yeah,
you
I feel
definitely
like
had more Disney memorabilia than I did for some
but
at the
you
time.
have stepped up. I will say there are pictures that Emily took because I was just like, hey, can you take one with something? Because I'm living out of a hotel for 100 days. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. So I guess for me, what I took away was those new skills.
I also had a couple things. And thank you for doing all of the like tech work and publishing of our episodes and managing our accounts with like Lisbon and all of that. I really appreciate that you took that part on. And also with our correspondence, your PR skills definitely shone through. I would draft a lot of emails, but I did not send until Courtney read through them. Because if you can't tell, if you listen to our episodes, I am the very verbose one who can't always find the words that I want to say, whereas Courtney is very good at succinctly and specifically saying and finding right words. So I would
But
draft things and I
what
throw them to
you're
Courtney.
really good at is writing amazing questions. Shout
Thank
out to
you.
Emily for her questions. I always like tear up a little when an author is like, that's a really good question. I'm
There were
like,
some times where I was like,
that's all
yes,
Emily. Like I do think
some moments
you
because we
approach things really well.
that was something that challenged me a lot. And I guess behind the scenes, some of the authors we had, they would go on book tours. We weren't the only podcast that they were talking to about their books. And I would know that like friends of ours, Brett Nackman, sometimes would get that author on before we did, or Disney Coast to Coast would have them on. And so I would go find those podcasts that had already interviewed that author and listen to what they had already covered because I didn't want to be redundant. Wanted to make sure they got the things out about the book that they needed to. But that challenged me to think differently. So writing interviews and discussions, also in a different way. As a teacher, I write questions all the time. It's part of my job. So I have a knack, I think, for that is whenever I read a text, it is for the purpose of creating discussions with my classes or what are the main ideas I want them to get out of something, especially as a social studies teacher, we do a lot with text. So I already have that background, but it's a very different lens. I wasn't necessarily trying to get someone to teach or learn a content or an objective. It was more about conversation. So that taught me to think a little differently on how to do that. But then also getting to read like a student again. So even though I was creating our discussions, I feel like I got to read again, not as a teacher. when it came to informational texts. Or some nonfiction. A lot of nonfiction I read right now is because of my classroom. So it got me to re-enjoy those types of texts again. And then I just got to learn and talk about it with people for fun versus having to like create a lesson out of it and figure out how to integrate it into a curriculum and some of those bigger structures. So it was fun to just like read like a student again for my own learning and discussion, which was
Yeah, when
fun.
we were starting this, that felt like the natural fit of you having like a question taxonomy background, and you have done, again, just such an amazing job. I always look forward to you being like, hey, the Google Doc is up if you want to go see the questions. I'm like, oh, I gotta start thinking of my answers here.
I think we also both learned a little bit. It kind of feels weird, but we are technically content creators.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess so.
I never thought of myself as like I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
But technically, we created content for 8 years and put it out there. I will say it's a lot of work. We did this for fun, and I think that's an important thing. We set out to do this for fun. At no point were we striving to get sponsorships or so grateful to people who sent us books and advanced copies and helped us out that way. But that was never something that we're like, we had this goal to like market in any way or have a Patreon. We just did this for fun. And even just doing content creation for fun with low expectations of like what you would receive out of it. Um, it's a lot of work, and I give people who do content creating as a full-time job a lot of props.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really hadn't thought about it. I think because we've done it was important to us to keep it low key. I think
Yeah.
just we have our little legal statement at the end. It was always kind of
But it's what we
a
wanted out
gray
of this too.
right, it was a gray area, and so it was never something we really pushed for to like have partnerships. I think like one time some ticket company was like, "Hey, like, do you guys want to mention our tickets?" And I was like, "I don't think I'm allowed to do that, so I'm just gonna ignore this email." So I guess we could have if we wanted to, but for us, this was just two friends who wanted to talk about books, and we're like, we'll see if anyone wants to listen to us
Yeah.
along the way. And some authors would find us, and that was always really exciting.
Thanks to Chronicle Books for putting us on their mailing list. That was
So many
like,
Art of
wow,
Disney
we made
books.
it as so many Art of Disney books, which look beautiful on my shelf. Uh, but that was like, we hit content creator. We're on an advanced published copy list. I thought that was cool. That was something that I never would have expected starting this podcast. You brought up our friendship. We're just two friends who wanted to talk about books and Disney. So how do you think this podcast, influenced our friendship over the last 8 years?
I really feel like it has brought us closer. We were already close. If you haven't gone back to episode 1 or picked up on
Yeah.
our journey along the way, Emily and I met in our sophomore year of college as teaching assistants for the same professor. So we had her the year prior as freshmen, but we were in different sections. And we are so grateful. Shout out to Lyra for bringing us together, and in working together found out that we had so much in common: a love of
Yeah.
Disney, a love of the movie Clue, a love of reading. Just
Singing in the
many
Rain.
Water for Elephants recently
Yeah.
came up. You're like, oh, I read that book in high school and I loved it. And I'm like, this is why we're friends, because I did too.
If you listen to this podcast, the number of times we had the same answer for many
I
things
feel like
became running joke.
we got really close this summer going into senior year
Hmm.
because, God bless you, I had gone through a bad breakup and we commuted to DC internships, and like
Yeah,
through
internship summer.
internship summer I was at the American Meat Institute, and I believe was that your National Archives
Yeah, that was
time.
my National Archives
And so we were on
internship.
the metro, the DC metro, like 3 days a week together. And I talked your ear off about
Yeah.
everything I was emotionally going through. So thank you for that. I feel like that really brought us close together that summer. We spent a lot of time because a lot of people weren't on campus. Like it kind of clears out. Like we would have little Disney or classic movie nights at my apartment, which was fun. And then right after that year, I was like, I'm gonna go do the Disney College program. You stuck around campus for one more year to finish up your
Hmm.
accelerated master's, and then you're like, I'm gonna go do the Disney College program. So we got to have, and I stayed in Orlando, so we got to have
Thank God. I'm
Disney
so glad you were
memories
still there.
together. So we always all that to say, like, so we had a very strong friendship, and we would text off and on after you moved back up north and left Disney, and just somehow we're like, hey, we both got into podcasts, we both got into Disney podcasts, and it was like, what if we did one? And then I was like, well, like, I can't really talk about like Disney news and rumors and things. And then it just, like I said, it clicked for me one day. And I was like, books. We like books. We like Disney. Nobody's
Have a book
doing
club.
this. Yes, this is an untapped niche. People were, occasionally interviewing authors, but like, we are going to be dedicated to this topic. And so we've had a 7.5 year book club, and
Yeah,
I am very grateful for it. Like, it was, I get to see your face and talk to you every
I
month, which
know,
is nice. I think we should still just talk about books just without the
for sure.
responsibility of having to record and edit.
I think this has been oddly a topic that's come up a lot with some of my other friends as well. And also interesting that at the time of recording this podcast, this is my first year teaching seniors in high school. So I'm getting to talk to students more about like transition time, whereas I'm used to working with freshmen where they're transitioning into high school. And now I'm working with seniors about transitioning out of high school. And a topic that's coming up a lot is friendships and the maintenance of friendships. And your friendships go through lots of stages and seasons. And I'm really thankful that we found a way to maintain our friendships because friendships do take effort, they do take maintenance. And we have found a way for us to make sure that we were spending time together as friends who live on two opposite ends of the coast, north and south, not east west. That we were like, we want to make time to spend time together with my friend. And I want to do this cool creative project. And I can't recommend to people enough that if you have long distance friends, and I'm not saying you have to go on an 8 year podcast journey, but making sure you're carving out that time that we knew at least once a month we were going to talk to each other, at least online. Throughout the weeks, we were constantly then touching base, not only on our lives, but also where we were in the book and what we were talking about. So, um, yeah, like things people are doing in COVID, like keep doing those things because it helped us maintain our friendship long distance. And I think I've gotten better at my other friendships because of how much we've practiced this and been purposeful in our communication. That I think that's something that everyone should be doing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we would usually close out and ask authors closing questions,
I
but
know.
I think we could turn the tables on ourselves here and ask similar questions. So, what books are still on your Disney TBR that you would like to get to off air?
So I'm proud. When we started this podcast, I had not the library that's behind me now, which no one can see on this recording. But you've been through watching my background change. But when I started, I had one shelf. Like, think of an IKEA bookshelf, but one Billy bookshelf shelf was all of the Disney books I had. I now have two full bookcases of Disney books, probably equivalent to one full Billy bookshelf. It's two half Billy bookshelves. And they're full of books. And so I went through preparing for this question. I was like, what books do I still have on my bookshelf? And I pulled a couple, but Courtney, I'm really proud. We read pretty much everything that's on my bookshelf.
I'm so
So
glad.
that's
What
pretty
did we
awesome.
not read? I'm very curious.
So our first book was Marty Sklar, but we also have other Marty Sklar books that we
Yes.
didn't get back to. Travels with Figment, One Little Spark, The Ten Commandments, um, Mickey's Ten Commandments, and The Road to Imagineering. So more Marty Sklar. I've had Disney during World War II on my shelf since my college program. We didn't get around to that one. I definitely want to read that. The Princess Diaries by Carrie Fisher. So I want to get into hers. And then just doing a quick search, Existencio has a new book out. Um, or it's on Existencio. It's by Bobby Lucas, Kelsey McCullough, Tori Atencio McCullough. So his family released this book about him. And Ron Clements has a new book out, exploring 45 years of Disney animation. So I encourage people to still follow, if you're not following Disney Editions, Hyperion. There's a lot of Hyperion stuff, thanks to our friend Leanne, who also works in Disney Publishing. Um, she turns on, she's like, "Have you read this before?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know that like we had all these cool series in Hyperion." So there's a lot of fiction I want to get into or back into Twisted Tales.
Twisted Tales were fun. I feel like that was an unexpected avenue when we started the podcast. I'm an avid nonfiction reader in my personal life. I like thrillers, I love a little romance, but I really gravitate towards nonfiction, especially memoirs. Um, I kind of felt like my vision initially was, oh, like we will do these nonfiction books about Disney and then fictional work that inspired Disney, like Winnie the Pooh and Mary Poppins. But uncovered this whole world of official Disney fiction. Of course, we knew about the Kingdom Keepers, but things like the Twisted Tales and junior novelizations of films and things that came out surprised me. I liked the Twisted Tale we did. I would read some others there. I feel like one of the most requested books that we never did was
Yes.
Disney War.
Disney War.
So, you know what? Maybe we'll just do like Disney War ourselves for funsies. It's always
It's
because we do this, we are doing a book a month, which doesn't sound like a lot. Disney War is a tome,
is
and
huge.
I feel like I've gotten into audiobooks now, and maybe
So
that's
I
how
tried
Audible
looking for it.
credit. Is it not an audiobook?
So there is an audiobook.
Okay.
However, at least on Libby, it is not on Hoopla, at least not from my library. And from my library on Libby, I clicked the notify me. So it
Hmm.
exists, but my library doesn't have it. But it
No.
is 26 hours of straight listening on one speed. So that is not short. And I have read audiobooks that are around that long. But like think of that as tackling Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That
It's on
it's
Audible, so I got Audible credits. Maybe you do a little free trial or something.
I know that was one of our
Yeah, that was
most.
just always one that just felt maybe like a little too sensitive to dip our toe into, but I would personally like
But if I get
to
around to reading
approach
it and someone
it.
wants to take me on their show to talk
Yeah,
about it,
yeah.
I
Bring
don't work
us
for the Disney company.
yeah, take Emily. Emily will just get my uncensored thoughts offline. So that I think is for sure on my
Yeah.
TBR in general. And I will absolutely be keeping up with whatever continues to come out because it is something that I will like to read for fun.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of the books that came out at the 100th and during the 50th anniversaries of the company and Walt Disney World, I was really happy to see. And like you said, like memoirs, we got really deep into memoirs, I think, in that period, just because so many came out at one
They really
time.
did.
And getting to read a lot more about cast members. I really enjoy those books. So I think I'll definitely be looking out for more cast member memoirs as well. So we often ask authors for advice. I'm going to ask us to give advice for future podcasters. If
Ooh,
people want to
good
start a
one.
podcast, what advice should we give
I
them?
think maybe this is just our type A personalities, but it helps to have a plan. We
Yeah.
would, at the start of the year, I'm not saying we had 12 months of content planned out, but we kind of just had like a repository of, okay, here's some stuff that was evergreen. Like the Into the Woods was kind of always on our back burner, and you're like, no, I really want to do that before we end this. But we would look at things like what's having an anniversary this year, or in 2018, we were pretty good about the Mary Poppins Returns was coming out, Christopher Robin was coming out, just like looking at like what's relevant. But just always kind of knowing what lies ahead from month to month. I'd say the most we probably planned out was like 4 to 5 months at a time, but that would also come as a result of people coming to us and being like, "Hey, do you want to do my book?" And we're like, yes, but we have two other things lined up. Are you okay if we do that 3 months from now? And most of the time they were willing. So we were very appreciative of people's flexibility in that regard. So I would say having a plan, but also remembering to have fun. Like at the end of the day, it's you and your co-host or your co-host or just you, but like however you approach this, if it's not fun, I feel like that's going to come through for your listeners. So I hope that our listeners feel like we're having fun each time.
Yeah, and I think along with that, if you're having fun and you're kind of being true to what you want to get out of this show, you're going to find your listeners. I think we found a small, comfy, cozy corner of the podcast world that we loved. Um, like don't get too hung up on are people gonna like this? Are people not gonna like this? What's going to do well or get downloads? Because you're gonna find your listeners. There are so many people out there who want to engage with the things you enjoy that you will find your people and just be true to that community and they'll stick with you and you'll still then have more fun because you're not trying to like over I don't know if I'm explaining this
No,
well.
I get it. Like I'm an analyst. I'm a numbers person, but for me, it has always been about the quality of our listeners,
hmm
not the quantity. I've never really paid attention to download or subscription numbers unless, like some agency was asking us. But for me, what I remember more is people like our friend on Twitter, Just Ellen, I guess, she lives many, many hours ahead of us. So I would upload the episode at night and she'd listen to it and I'd like wake up to a Twitter message to our account just saying how much she enjoyed it or her thoughts on
Yeah.
things. So all of you out there who have engaged with our content, who have commented, I'd say our other number one fan, Leanne's mom, Julianne, like shout out to you. Always just leaving a kind word. I didn't mean to like call two people out by name. Please know if I like didn't call you out by name that I do love all of you and we read your
Yeah,
comments.
we do. And I think also if it's kind of like the same advice that writers give, if you're going to write, you need to read. If you're going to podcast, you need to listen to other podcasts. Listen to other podcasts in the same vein as you are. Because one, you'll learn a lot about how to structure a podcast, what are things you like and don't like. But also, we met like a whole community of people, and that's what made this so much fun. And I think what kept us going for 8 years was meeting other people and not always just going on other people's shows or having guests come on our show, but we started commenting on each other's stuff. Friends with Brett, we went to his virtual
We
graduation.
did.
We made
Shout out to Brett.
friends.
We
So if
met
you're
up with
gonna,
people in the parks. Like
yes,
you were in town. Our friends from like Mad Chatters were in town, got to hang out and eat a cake at my house just
yeah,
for funsies.
and yeah, and connecting with people online through social media that now we just regularly follow each other and like stuff and say happy birthday and um, that if you're going to make podcasts, listen to them. One, it'll make you a better creator, but also the whole point of this is to engage with people. So engage with people outside of just your show.
Yeah, well, as we wrap up here, we would usually ask our authors too, what was next for them? Anything you want to share that's next for you?
I'm gonna throw this out there to hopefully manifest. Because I've been saying this forever. I want to write a book. I
Do it,
have
girl.
some Disney, particularly a Disney topic in mind, which I'm not going to share my Disney topic in case it changes by the time this happens. But I think this is also why both of us wanted to maybe start moving on from the podcast is we have other interests we want to pursue. I want to do some more research and writing. You have lots of awesome opportunities in Orlando that are going for you that we need to dedicate some time to. Uh, but so I would like to move into writing. We got a lot of advice from authors on how to write, and I should maybe do that.
Yay, that's so exciting.
And what about you? What's next for Courtney?
My gosh. I feel like I have always like been transparent about the fact that I work for Disney and also adamant that all views are my own. I am not here as a spokesperson of the company. I feel very grateful to have the role that I have and do like these are two separate things. But it is a very busy time in my role. I guess, it'd be very easy to find me on LinkedIn. So I will share that I am a senior digital analyst for Disney Cruise Line, and Disney Cruise Line has rapidly been
Yeah.
expanding. So that has just been so exciting for me personally to see like I've been with Disney for 11 years. When I started in this cruise line role, we had 4 ships in the water. By early next year, we will have 8.
Wow.
So, and more to come. So yeah, I think that played into the decision as well. Just work picking up for me.
We've both been traveling a lot more
We
too.
have, yes, indeed. And I feel shout out to my leadership at Disney, who I had fully disclosed that I do this podcast with their awareness and their permission. Not necessarily a blessing, but just, towing towing the line. So I feel grateful for that, but then felt like, yeah, like things are picking up. It's time for me to slow down in some other aspects.
Yeah. So we got lots of cool things going. If I publish a book, maybe we'll talk about
We'll
it in
throw
some
something
way.
somewhere like, oh, hey guys, we're here. We're back.
Maybe, but I gotta start that whole process.
Yeah, but then you'd have to write questions for yourself. So
Right? Or do we switch roles? You write the questions and I have to figure out how to manage and edit a whole episode and post it. We'll just like both completely switch. Maybe Brett, we'll have to invite Brett onto the show and make him run the whole thing.
there you go. Well, we will not be continuing the show in the channels that you are used to finding it. So I think that is a good pivot to share how we usually end with resources. We have
Hmm.
one resource here for you, and that is that this has been a labor of love for 7 years, and we don't want to abandon all of this content, but it does cost money to host this show.
Yeah.
Emily and I have split the bill. Again, we've never asked for money. We just split the hosting bill each month. We will not be doing that in perpetuity. I think we should, you know, go ahead and pay next month. Give you all till the end of the year if you like want to physically download a file. Those are available on Libsyn. I am
Yeah.
guessing when I stop paying that bill that these will disappear from Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So in anticipation of that, we have set up a YouTube channel. And that is called at Book of the Mouse Club Archive. That will be linked in the show notes. I have the first 10 episodes up. So I, on my technical side, am going through the process of downloading all of our old
Thank you for doing that labor
episodes.
of love.
You're welcome. You can't apparently just upload an MP3 file to YouTube, so I am using Canva and throwing in the MP3, throw in our show logo. So there is no visual content. I am basically just using YouTube. You get to look at our logo, but still pop those earbuds in if there's content you'd like to go back to and listen. I don't know. I feel like we did great interviews. We did great work. I don't want that to
Yeah.
be lost to the internet. So this felt like a nice free solution to keep our work out there. So I've been doing like 5 episodes at a time. So if you go ahead and subscribe there, I will continue to add those. My goal is to get all 120 up by the end of this year. So that is my resource for all of you.
Awesome. And I hope listeners remember our podcast specifically was also chosen to be evergreen. We wanted to read books, to discuss books, because we can always discuss books. These books are always going to exist. There's always new conversations to have. And we hope people go back and listen to the conversations we had about them and then have conversations of their own. So even though we're not producing new shows, we still have over 120 books out there that we would love for you to still engage with and start your own conversations with your friends and family and other Disney fun people.
If you write a book, I will put a video on the YouTube channel. So we are not
Okay,
promising any other content, but Emily has said that she's writing a book. So I
Okay,
guess
so
we will
now I have to
manifest
do it.
that.
I've now committed the manifestation.
Just like 3 or 4 years from now, an episode's randomly gonna pop up. These things take time. In the meantime, you are still welcome to look back at our reading journey on Book of the Mouse Club Instagram at Book of the Mouse. We won't be posting nude posts because I also meticulously made it so that there's the reposts per episode and the grid looks very beautiful. But who's to say we might pop up on stories from time to time? Keep an eye on the messages. So really, if you want to revisit our episodes, the best way to keep listening will be to episodes archived on that new YouTube channel, Book of the Mouse Club Archive. While we're not going to monitor our email as closely as we used to, we are still keeping our email address and we'll periodically check it. So we welcome your comments. And if you want to make connections, reach out to us at bookofthemouseclub@gmail.com. You can keep up with me, Courtney, on Instagram at Great Gatsby.
And me, Emily, at Emily_McD. And for a while, I've been posting the links to our Goodreads accounts in the show notes. So if you want to keep up with us mostly as readers and see what else we're reading beyond our Disney TBR, feel free to find us on Goodreads.
Well, we have reached the end, as crazy as that is. And longtime listeners will know we close every episode with a quote. But I think we should both get to do a quote this
Okay.
time. So what quote would you like to end with?
So in addition to listening to episode 1, I also re-listened to our first book, Dream It, Do It by Marty Sklar. And the quote from his book I thought was a good closing to this chapter for us. The quote is from the first book we reviewed. It's on episode 2. Marty Sklar says, "Life is like a blank sheet of paper. You never know what it can be until you put something on it." So I hope people come up with fun things they want to do with their friends like we did with this, and you never know what's going to come out of it. Go try new things.
And I have chosen the quote that we did end our first episode with. I
Aw.
felt like it was the appropriate bookend, if you will. And that is a quote from Walt Disney. Quote, "There is more treasure in books than in all the pirates' loot on Treasure Island and at the bottom of the Spanish Main. And best of all, you can enjoy these riches every day of your life." End quote. So, over many, many months and many, many years, we have enjoyed those riches, the riches of our friendship, the riches of you, our listeners, and the community that we've established. So, thank you all for 120 wonderful episodes together.
Thank you, and keep reading.
The Mouse Club has no affiliation with the Walt Disney Company. The views and opinions expressed by hosts and participants are theirs and theirs alone. They do not represent the organizations or companies they happen to work for.